Hi everyone, welcome back to another video on the channel. In this video I'm going to be telling you 3 vital tips you need to know when doing ads on KDP. And if you do enjoy this video and you think it provides you some value, then please help the channel grow by hitting the like button and also subscribe. The 3 following tips that I'm going to tell you about are all based around an ACOS. So first of all, what I'm going to do is get everyone up to scratch with exactly what an ACOS is and how it works, and then we'll get into the tips a little bit later on in the video. So what is an ACOS actually? So ACOS stands for Advertising Cost of Sale. Now, ACOS tells us how well our ads are performing. Now, the lower the ACOS is, the more profitable the ad campaign is. And of course, the higher that the ACOS is, the less profitable the ad campaign is. Now, the ACOS of a book is the most important metric that you have in your advertising dashboard. And that is, of course, because it tells you if the ads are actually profitable and just how profitable they really are. So is the ACOS the same for all books? And that's a very short answer. And the answer is no, absolutely not. The ACOS vary a lot depending on different factors. So books that receive a higher royalty can have a higher ACOS and still be profitable. Of course, if you receive more money for your book, you're able to spend more on your advertising. And this means that our ACOS can start to tend a little bit higher, and vice versa. If our books receive less royalties, then our ACOS is going to have to be a lot lower for them to be profitable. And this is why we really want to aim for higher royalties on our books, because this allows us to have a lot more freedom with our advertising campaigns and to have a higher ACOS. Now, another thing as well is that books with a higher printing cost will also require a lower ACOS to still be profitable. Now, these are really important things to look at. You can't look at the ACOS of one book to another as exactly the same because there are so many different factors that affect it. But I'm going to show you later on in this video just how we can measure how well our ACOS is performing for every single specific book. Now, the first tip of this video is going to be showing you how to calculate your break-even ACOS point. So this means that it's the amount of money that you spend on advertising which equals your royalty. So you're neither making money nor losing money. But it is really important to figure out this break-even point because this means that you'll know that if you're underneath this point, then your advertising campaign is profitable. And if you're above this point, of course, your ad campaign is losing money. So there is already a pretty cool website which can help you calculate your break-even ACOS point for you, which is called Bookbeam here, and I'm on Bookbeam Royalty Calculator. But there is a small problem with how it calculates the break-even ACOS point, which I will tell you about later. So if you scroll down the page a little bit, it will look just like this. And this website is completely free to use. And I think there is a paid subscription to Bookbeam, but a lot of the services they offer are completely free, and it is a really good tool. So what you first want to do is you want to do your interior type. So most of the time that is going to be black ink. We do our store as Amazon.com, set our page number at something random, and our price at $8.99. So it's quite a realistic price for a book. And as you can see here on the right, it will calculate all of our different royalties. It will do Amazon's fee, the printing costs, and all of this. And most importantly, our break-even ACOS point, which it is saying is at 36.04%. So what Bookbeam is saying here is that if we run ads for this makeup book that we've done here, and we run our ads at a 36.04% ACOS, these ads are going to be completely break-even. So they're not making any money, but they're not losing any money. But there is one big problem with how Bookbeam calculates its break-even ACOS point, and that is that it does not include the 20% VAT that is added on for your advertising campaigns. And this does have a very big impact on what the break-even ACOS point actually is. And a lot of the time, the break-even ACOS is sadly going to be a lot less than 36%. So this break-even ACOS point is far too high, and you'd actually be running quite a significant loss, well, about a 20% loss on these advertising campaigns. So although it's a very useful tool, and you can use it to see your royalties, you can see Amazon's fees, the printing costs, and all of that, I wouldn't use it to calculate your break-even ACOS points. I'd rather do that yourselves. So here I'll show you the real way to calculate your break-even ACOS point, which is including that 20% VAT, which is added on at the end. So initially what you want to do is you want to divide your royalty by 1.2. So this will negate that 20% that we've added on. Now, once you've done this, you divide this number by your list price. So if you're listing your book for $8.99 or whatever, that is what you divide it by. And then finally, what you have to do is multiply this by 100. So it's pretty simple to figure out, but I'll show you with an example now. So here we have a book that's for sale for $8.99, where we receive a $3.24 royalty, which is the exact same example that we put into Bookbeam just a minute ago. So first of all, we want to divide $3.24, so our royalty, by 1.2, which gives us 2.7. Next up, we want to take this number and divide it by our list price. So 2.7 divided by 8.99, which gives us 0.30033. And finally, we times it by 100 to get our break-even ACOS point, which, as you can tell, is around about 30%. So it's actually 6% less than what Bookbeam was saying. And this is the true number that we need to be hitting to be breaking even with our ads. And knowing this number is really important for how each different type of book that you publish, because I've got some books where my break-even ACOS point is going to be down at sort of 22, 23%. And I've got some books where my break-even ACOS point is going to be up at 35, 36%. So this is a massive difference. It really doesn't take that much for the break-even ACOS point to differ a lot from other books. So that's why you really need to know what it is for every single book so you can tailor your advertising campaigns towards it. Then, of course, if your book has a higher break-even ACOS point, so it's at 35%, you can be a lot more aggressive with your advertising strategies and still be making a profit. Whereas if you have a break-even ACOS point down in the 20s at 23, 24%, you have to be slightly more conservative for these ads to still be profitable. The second tip in this video is, when do you turn off an unprofitable ad campaign? And once again, it's got a very simple answer, and that is never. Now that may seem like a surprising answer to many of you, but there is a very good reason why I have never turned off an advertising campaign. And that is that if the ACOS is too high, just simply keep reducing the bids. If your ACOS is at 50%, keep reducing them. If it goes down to 40%, just keep reducing the bids. And eventually it's going to reach a point where it either becomes profitable or it won't spend any money at all. By using this strategy and moving down in small increments if the ACOS is higher than you would like, then you're almost guaranteed to find this point where it's going to reach its break-even ACOS point or be a little bit underneath. And if it never reaches that break-even point, that means that you've been forced to reduce your bids so much. And that is not a problem at all as well. That probably just means that the book is not going to sell that well and the ad campaigns are not going to perform particularly well. But I would rather have an ad campaign running where the bids are as low as sort of 10 cents or 15 cents than having an ad campaign completely switched off. Because even these campaigns that have really low bids, they are going to spend a tiny bit over the course of the year, even if it's only just a couple of dollars. But when your bids are that low, your chance of converting a sale is just so much higher because you have so many more chances of someone clicking on your video versus you having to make a sale, given that the cost is so low. So these things are just worth leaving on, even if you just have to keep reducing the bids down and down, but they pretty much always will find a point where they become profitable. And the third and final tip for this video is the 30-day algorithm. Now, this is something that I've spoken about quite often on the channel, but I feel that it's a really important one. So I'm going to hammer down on it again and go into a little bit more detail about how we can apply it to what we learned earlier about ACOSs. So Amazon treats the first 30 days of a book being live as somewhat of a tester period. So basically, if your book sells well during this first 30 days, then Amazon will bump it up the algorithm after the month is up. So after that 30 days is up, then Amazon is going to make your book rank better and better, and more specifically, the organic version of your book. But luckily, this is something that we can use to our advantage. What we can do is we can sort of play the system or even trick the algorithm into thinking that our book will sell better by running a really aggressive ad strategy over the first 30 days of our book being released. This will allow our book to get more sales than it perhaps normally would in the first month of it being released. And this is then going to cause Amazon to make our book rank much higher after that month is up, when we're going to be running a more normal advertising strategy. So this means that we should run two types of ad strategies per book. The first 30 days should be a really ultra aggressive strategy where we can have an ACOS slightly above our break even point. So of course, this means that we're going to be losing a little bit of money in the first month. But in the long run, and KDP is very much a long-term game every single time you look at it, in the long run, this is going to be making us more money because Amazon is going to be bumping our book up the algorithm, up the search page, and we're going to be making more sales in the future, more organic sales, and therefore making more money. And then after this 30-day tester period is up, we want to reduce our bids down to a normal rate so we can try and get ACOS slightly below our break-even point. And this is the sort of strategy that we're going to be using for the remainder of our book. But here, once again, you can see this absolutely vital to know what your break-even ACOS point is when you're running the aggressive ad campaign at the start of it, or the non-aggressive one after the book has been live for 30 days. If you don't calculate this break-even ACOS point right at the start of your book being published, you could be running at an ACOS of about 30% of the first 30 days and think this is really aggressive. But in actual fact, the royalty might be quite high on your book and you're actually well under your break-even ACOS points. You're not making the most of this 30-day tester period which Amazon is giving you. Or vice versa, you might be running it way too high when the actual break-even ACOS point is much lower than that, and then maybe you've gone too aggressive. So thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you've enjoyed this video and maybe learned a little bit along the way. Let me know down in the comments if this is how you run your ad campaigns and what you think of this strategy overall.